Been a crime of this nature actually perpetrated by a woman in Australia.
She's disgraceful. I can't comprehend what she's done.
To this day,
nothing could prepare you for what you were about to see. Whatever had done this, it was obviously a monster, and we had to do something. We had to somehow finish it.
This story is heartbreaking, and we have to warn you, the video might be hard to watch. Most disputes between lovers conclude with a brief apology. But what happened to Katherine Knight was mutilation and murder. On February 29, 2000, this Australian slaughterhouse worker not only stabbed her boyfriend John Charles Thomas Price at least 37 times with a butcher knife, but she also sliced him up, cooked him, and got ready to feed him to his own kids. However, Katherine Mary Knight's unsettling life story was characterized by sexual abuse and violence even before this gruesome murder, which foreshadowed the horrific events to come. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Katherine Mary Knight was born in Tenterfield, Australia on October 24, 1955. Her father, Ken Knight, and mother, Barbara Ruffin, had a scandalous affair that resulted in Katherine Mary Knight. In addition to having 4 boys with a different partner, Barbara Ruffin also got to know Knight via her spouse. Their little, conservative community was devastated when word leaked out about their covert meeting. Knight's turbulent upbringing didn't get any better after this turbulent beginning. Her mother was repeatedly raped by her violently inebriated father. Knight asserts that up to the age of 11, she experienced sexual assault at the hands of many family members. Knight had a reputation at school for being a bully who scared younger kids. She left school at the age of 15 to work in a textile factory without having learned to read or write. She got her dream job at a slaughterhouse, chopping off animals' internal parts, a year later. Because she loved her work so much, Katherine Knight kept her first pair of butcher's knives above her bed in case she needed them. And ultimately, she did. Knight met David Kellett, a violent drinker who frequently got into fistfights and was similar to her father while she was employed at the butcher shop. Knight, who had grown accustomed to such aggression, was taken aback when she became involved in one of her new partner's inebriated fights. But it didn't take him long to understand that Knight could inflict more than just little harm with her hands. Before long, he discovered that she was controlling him. She persuaded him to get married in 1974. Her mother even cautioned him about her daughter's attitude, claiming that Knight had a screw loose somewhere, but he remained incredibly drunk the whole time. Knight and Kellett 3 times consummated their marriage on their wedding night. Knight started to strangle him when he fell asleep because she wanted a 4th round and didn't like how tired her new spouse was. After waking up, Kellett successfully repelled Knight. Despite the fact that she tried to kill him the first day of their marriage, they were together for 10 more years. That being said, the marriage was far from ideal. Kellett had a history of infidelity. He once abandoned his wife and their 2 girls in the middle of the night. After learning of one of Kellett's extramarital relationships, Knight threatened many individuals with a stolen axe and left their 2-month-old child on the local train lines just before a scheduled train arrived, sparing the child. Witnesses observed her shoving and swinging her second kid aggressively in a stroller down a public street, leading to another diagnosis of postnatal depression. She informed caregivers during her brief stay at a mental health facility that she planned to murder the mechanic who had serviced Kellett's automobile since it had allowed him to leave her. When Knight was discharged from the hospital, Kellett took her back in spite of the threat. When Kellett eventually did leave her, their reconciliation did not last long, and Knight experienced a time of intense grief. Shortly after splitting from Kellett in 1986, Katherine Knight threw herself into a passionate relationship with a nearby miner named David Saunders. Saunders moved in with her and her 2 children in a matter of months. But he held onto his apartment, and Knight grew suspicious of what he did with it while she wasn't there and quite envious. Similar to her other relationships, this one turned aggressive and poisonous very soon. She once showed him what she was capable of by slitting the neck of his 2-month-old dingo dog in front of him. Nevertheless, they remained married and, a year later, had a daughter. But Saunders had left Knight soon after the baby was born because she tried to murder him with a pair of scissors. It was then that she met John Chillingworth. After 3 years of marriage, Knight gave birth to his first son, Eric. Their romance ended after Chillingworth discovered that Knight was having an affair with a man by the name of John Charles Thomas Price, despite the fact that no violent occurrences have been mentioned throughout their relationship. The relationship between Katherine Knight and John Price started off smoothly. He was a miner who had enough money to support her, and he had 2 older children who lived with him and seemed to enjoy Knight. In 1995, they moved in together, and everything was going well. But when he refused down her proposal of marriage, she became aggressive. Price was dismissed after Knight falsely accused him of stealing items from his business. Even though he had previously thrown her out, they had renewed their relationship a few months later. He wouldn't allow her to move back in, though, this time. That's when their friends and neighbors said Knight's violence started to get worse. Katherine Knight tried to stab John Charles Thomas Price in the chest after they got into a heated disagreement in February 2000. To protect his kids, he filed for a restraining order against her. Price said at the end of the month that he was worried about his safety and informed his colleagues that if he ever vanished, it would be because Knight had killed him. His fear was well-founded. When John Charles Thomas Price got home from work on February 29, 2000, he did his normal thing of saying hello to the neighbors and heading to bed at 11 p.m. Shortly afterward, Knight fixed herself some dinner, watched TV, took a shower, and went upstairs. Price went back to sleep when she woke him up and they had sex. Then, Katherine Knight stabbed Price 37 times with a butcher knife that she had always kept next to her bed. Evidence suggests that he woke up during the attack but was unable to stop her. He passed away from his wounds, and Knight skinned him, brought his body downstairs, and hanged it from the living room butcher hook. She then chopped off his head and cooked the portions of his body in a casserole with gravy, potatoes, pumpkin, beets, zucchini, cabbage, and squash. She then prepared a plate for herself, but it appears from the partially abandoned food that was subsequently discovered at the crime site that she was unable to complete it. Afterwards, she took a lot of pills and lay down next to Price's disfigured, decapitated body. The following morning, when Price failed to report for duty, his colleagues took his warning seriously and alerted the police. When the police came, they discovered Katherine Knight's horrific crime scene and took her into custody while she was unconscious. She asserted that she didn't remember the previous evening when she woke up. Price's head was discovered by the police simmering in a pot of vegetables on the stove in the kitchen. They discovered 2 full plates with names on them on the table. When the police learned that Knight intended to feed John Price's kids his corpse parts, they were horrified. Katherine Knight was promptly accused of killing John Charles Thomas Price, even though she insisted she didn't remember the night of his death. Her trial started in October 2001, although it didn't get very far. Knight entered a guilty plea for reasons that are still unknown, and the court postponed the trial without taking testimony. That day, the court gave the order to label her files as never to be released before she was led off to prison. Australia sent a woman to life in prison without the possibility of release for the first time in recorded history. Despite this, Knight continues to insist on her innocence and reject accountability for her deeds. Katherine Knight had already challenged her sentence, but it was swiftly dismissed. She remains imprisoned at Silverwater Women's Correctional Centre, serving a life sentence. Enjoying our content? Please like and share video with your friend, and don't forget to share your thoughts in comment section. Don't miss out on future videos. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Thanks for watching.